Hello friends, myself Vijay Gupta and welcome to the YouTube live on Unacademy, and yes, let's crack it. So the session is started, and yes, I am online. I can see myself and also the students. Are you all there? Can you just send me a hi if you are all listening to me, the one who are online? Sanjay, Hemant, because today's session is on dead space. So I'll start with one very simple MCQ, a very simple MCQ on dead space. Uh, a person, a man with a body weight with a body weight of 200 pounds, what will be the dead space? And the options are and the options are 100, 150, 200, 250. What will be the dead space of a person whose body weight is 200 pounds? Very simple. What will be the body weight of a person whose what will be the dead space of a person whose body weight is 200 pounds? So for a person whose body weight is 200 pounds, the dead space is how much? 100, 150, 200 or 250? Yes. Can you tell me the answer here? You can type on the chat section. Yes. What will be the answer here? The answer, remember the answer is yes. I'm waiting for the reply. Those who are online can type the answer in the chat box. The answer here is not 150, not 100, not 250. The right answer is 200 pounds. Remember, the relation is 1 pound of body weight. 1 pound of body weight corresponds to 1 ml of dead space. Now, how do we get this? Please try to understand. It's a very simple concept here. The the 150 ml of dead space that we use as a normal dead space is actually from 1 ml of dead space which we use for a normal dead space. Remember, is actually a dead space of a 70 kg healthy adult male. Whenever we have a 70 kg healthy adult male, please remember, whenever we have a 70 kg healthy adult male, the 70 kg healthy adult male will belong to a 70 kg will turn into a 150 pounds, and therefore 150 pounds corresponds to 150 ml of dead space. So that's how you have a relation of 1 kg of body weight corresponds to 1 ml of dead space. This is just a simple idea of what could be the dead space of a person with relation to body weight. A very crude idea, but there is one more calculation of dead space as we have promised, in which we can exactly get the volume of dead space, a very exact value. Now, for those who have joined or those who are listening for the first time, remember, uh, remember dead space. Sanjay, are you there? Hemant, are you there? Remember, dead space is the volume of air which does not participate in exchange. So it does not participate in exchange of gases. The dead space does not participate in exchange of gases. The in tidal volume, the 150 ml of dead space is actually from nostrils. Remember, from nostrils till 16th division of tracheobronchial tree. Please remember, the dead space in a person uh, is from nostrils till tracheobronchial tree. Means when we have a tidal volume of 500 ml, in this 500 ml of tidal volume, 150 ml of dead space is the amount of air which is from nostrils till 16 division. So this amount of air does not participate in exchange, and the remaining 350 ml of air is actually participating in exchange of gases. The dead space can be calculated by a formula. The formula is dead space is equal to the volume of dead space is equal to tidal volume into PaCO2 minus PeCO2 divided by PaCO2. Now, what is the basis of this formula? Our main target is we'll try to understand the basis of this formula, so that it will be helping us to understand the application of this formula in the cases of anesthesia which are given by the route of lungs. Remember, when we talk about lungs, okay, some part of the lungs is actually has a dead space. So suppose if you breathe in atmospheric air, so this part of the atmospheric air is not taking part in exchange, whereas this part of the atmospheric air, it does take part in exchange. So when you breathe in for the first time, the some amount of air is dead space and some amount of air is for exchange, right? Okay, now whenever there is exchange occurs, we take in oxygen and we add carbon dioxide. So the air which is exchanged by the lungs contains carbon dioxide. Keeping this thing in mind, we are going to have three important assumptions. First, remember the assumptions which we are going to keep in mind so that this formula holds true. The first assumption is whatever air you breathe in, whatever amount of air we breathe in, remember the atmospheric air has no carbon dioxide. This is the first assumption. So whatever air you take has oxygen and nitrogen only. So in the dead space, which is we are breathing for the first time, has no carbon dioxide. Okay. Remember, PaCO2 is arterial carbon dioxide partial pressure. PeCO2 is expiratory carbon dioxide partial pressure, and they're divided by again arterial pressure, carbon dioxide pressure. The second point is, sorry, I can see there are two people online. Can I have the second one who is online? Just give me an hi or so that I will be able to have a have your chat or can see who is watching me, so that we can have a one-on-one session and we can discuss the doubts whichever you face during this session. Okay. So remember, there are three assumptions we are going to consider. The first assumption is atmospheric air has no carbon dioxide. Second assumption which you consider, is whatever CO2 is coming out, whatever CO2 is being breathed out via this dead space, that CO2 is coming from alveoli. So the second assumption is all the CO2 in expiration is a true representation of alveoli air. Okay, so whatever air is added, what amount of air we add into the dead space during expiration, that air contains carbon dioxide which has come from exchange. So all the carbon dioxide which is coming in the expiration, its source is only from alveoli. So that carbon dioxide represents the carbon dioxide of the alveolar volume. And the third assumption we consider is the arterial PCO2 is equal to alveolar PCO2. Remember, alveolar PCO2. The arterial PCO2 is similar to alveolar PCO2. These are the three important assumptions which we consider while calculating dead space. I'll repeat. In calculation of dead space, we consider three important assumptions. First, the atmospheric air which we breathe in has no carbon dioxide in it. So in the dead space volume where you breathe in has no carbon dioxide is the first assumption we take. Ideally there is no carbon dioxide only. Okay, it's only 0.003%, which is almost negligible. Second assumption which we take is that all the CO2 which is coming during expiration, all that CO2, the source is only alveoli. So all the CO2 is coming from the exchangeable air only, and there is no extra addition from CO2 other than the any air from other than alveoli. Means no atmospheric CO2 is getting added. And the third assumption which we make is that the arterial PCO2, any arterial blood PCO2 is similar to the alveolar blood alveolar PCO2. So arterial PCO2 is similar to alveolar PCO2. Based on these three assumptions, we are going to calculate dead space by this formula. Okay, that is tidal volume. What is the formula now? We'll come back to formula. Dead space is equal to tidal volume into PaCO2, which is arterial carbon dioxide partial pressure, minus PeCO2, that is expired carbon dioxide partial pressure, divided by arterial carbon dioxide partial pressure. Now normally remember, under normal condition, the PaCO2, that is carbon dioxide, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood, how much is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood? Can anybody, those who are listening online, can definitely reply to this? What is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood? What is the pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood? Can anybody please tell me this answer? Should I give you options? Is it 46? Is it 40? Is it 35, or is it 30? Yes. Remember, the arterial carbon dioxide partial pressure is 40 mm of Hg. And the expired, because expired carbon dioxide, remember, the carbon dioxide is coming out from the exchangeable mass has a 40, but the moment this carbon dioxide which is very high in concentration, once it is added to the dead space, since dead space has no carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide in dead space gets diluted. So remember, when this carbon dioxide, when alveolar carbon dioxide, alveolar CO2, okay, is added to dead space and gets diluted okay. So again I'll repeat all the things. There are three assumptions which we make while calculation or while calculating dead space volume. The three assumptions are: number first, the air which you breathe in has no carbon dioxide. So in your dead space volume, there is no carbon dioxide. Second assumption is whatever CO2 is coming into the dead space during expiration, all that CO2 is actually coming from, yes, the alveolar and the exchangeable air mass. Third assumption is any arterial blood sample you take and the PCO2 of arterial blood sample is a true representation of alveolar carbon dioxide pressure. So arterial PCO2 is similar to alveolar PCO2. Now these three assumptions are done. We know the formula of dead space, that is PaCO2 minus PeCO2 divided by PaCO2 into tidal volume. The PaCO2, that is arterial carbon dioxide, is 40 mm of Hg. Second, alveolar carbon dioxide is added to dead space and it gets diluted because CO2 from very high is added to air where there is no carbon dioxide. So definitely carbon dioxide gets diluted. So PeCO2 will be lesser than 40 and PeCO2 is actually 28 mm of Hg. The PeCO2 is 28 mm of Hg. Okay. And tidal volume, right now we are going to take as 500 ml, which is a normal tidal volume. So we have three values in our hand. One PaCO2, other one PeCO2, and the third one is tidal volume. Let us put these three numbers into a formula. And the formula of dead space is, yes, we know the formula now. So tidal volume, which is 500 into PaCO2, which is 40, minus PeCO2, which is 28, divided by PaCO2, which is again 40. So calculating these things, 500 into 12 divided by 40, right? 500 divided into 12 divided by 40. So we'll just cancel out the 0 here, and 4 3s are 12. So the dead space what we are going to get right now is, yes, 50 into 3, that will be 150 ml. So that's how we get 150 ml of dead space. Now this is what normal values we have taken. Suppose if the expired PeCO2 becomes less, what does it mean? If expired PeCO2 is less, it means that the CO2 is getting more diluted. And when do we have CO2 more diluted? When CO2 from the lungs is coming is less. So if CO2 from the lungs is coming less, then that CO2 will get more diluted in dead space. And if there is more dilution in dead space, then PeCO2 will be less. And if PeCO2 decreases, definitely you can guess that the dead space has increased. Please remember, I'll repeat the whole concept again. Right now we are considering two parts of the lungs, right? I'll just draw the diagram again. See, what we are considering here is that the lungs we are considering as two parts which have exchangeable mass or exchangeable air areas, right? The first part, which is dead space, there where there is no exchange takes place, The second part where exchange takes place, is in the lungs. Now suppose if this part of the lungs is not participating for exchange, so no exchange occurs here, so the carbon dioxide which is getting accumulated from the alveoli is from this part and remaining carbon dioxide from this part. So overall CO2 which is getting collected here is definitely lesser than normal carbon dioxide. If the lesser than normal carbon dioxide is getting accumulated, then that CO2 when it goes into the dead space volume, that CO2 will have more dilution, and when there is more dilution, the PeCO2 will be less. So decreased PeCO2 is an indication that some part of the lungs where exchange should occur is not actually participating for exchange of gases. So we'll just take one number here. Suppose if PeCO2 becomes 20 and PaCO2 is again 40 and tidal volume is 500. Can you guess the dead space now with these three numbers? PeCO2 has decreased. Normally PeCO2 was supposed to be 28, but now PeCO2 is, that is partial pressure of expired carbon dioxide, is 20. Can we guess the dead space now? Very simple. The dead space in this condition will be 40 minus 20 divided by 40 into 500, which is started volume. So the final answer will be very simple. It will be 1 upon 2, because 40 minus 20 is 20 and 20 by 40 is half. So 1 by 2 into 500. What will be the dead space, students? Can you type the answer here? Very simple. The dead space is 250 ml. So that's how you can easily guess the answer. If the PeCO2 decreases, the dead space increases. So dead space is inversely proportional to PeCO2. That's what you can remember. Dead space is inversely proportional to PeCO2. Okay, so if PeCO2 decreases, it means the dead space has been increased. Now what is the advantage here? Once you know that the dead space of a person has increased, so if you are supposed to going to give anesthesia to this person, you should very well know that the concentration of the dosage which you are going to give, out of that dosage, 250 ml of that dosage, or 50% of the dosage is not going to be added to the blood, because that amount of dead space is not going to exchange anything in the blood. So dead space has got disadvantage where there is no exchange of the gases occurs. So those anesthetic agents will not be participating for exchange, and hence to to make the anesthesia effective, you need to increase the dose of anesthetic agent. Okay, so that's the use of dead space in the field of anesthesia. One more clinical application we'll try to understand. Now if I draw the all passage or the pathway or the passage of airway, starts from nostril, goes to esophagus, okay, trachea, not the esophagus, trachea, bronchi and bronchioles. So this becomes your trachea, this becomes your nasopharynx, and this becomes the nose, nostrils. So when you breathe from nostrils, you have all the air coming from nostrils, going to the nasopharyngeal area, going to the trachea, and from trachea it goes to the right and left bronchi. Now suppose if the person is given intubation, in a sense tracheostomy, there is a tracheostomy done and the person is now breathing, through trachea. So the person is breathing the air from a lesser dead space, because the air is entering not from nostrils now, that is entering from the trachea. So in tracheostomy, please remember, since the person is breathing from trachea, in tracheostomy, since the person is breathing from trachea, so this amount of dead space is not going to participate, means will not be a part of dead space. This amount of dead space will now be a part of exchangeable gases. So in tracheostomy, please remember, in tracheostomy, what will be the amount of dead space? Will the dead space becomes 1/3? Will the dead space become 1/4? Will the dead space become 1/2? Or will the dead space becomes 1/4 of the overall dead space? dead space is going to definitely reduce. Either it will be reduced by 30%, by 50%, by 70%, or by 90%. What will the reduction in dead space? Remember, in tracheostomy, the dead space generally decreases to half of its original value. So if a person's dead space is 150, therefore if 150 ml of dead space after tracheostomy, it will become 75 ml. After tracheostomy, the dead space become 75 ml. And if the dead space decreases, what is the advantage here? Decrease in dead space increases the exchangeable space, means the amount of air which can be used for exchange, its volume increases. Exchangeable gases space. Therefore, if the dead space is 75 ml, the exchange amount of gas will be 325 ml. 425, sorry, 425. Otherwise, the dead space would have been 350. So dead space has increased from 350 to 425. So that is the advantage here of tracheostomy, where the dead space volume increases. Okay, so this is all what I was planning to discuss today. How to calculate dead space, how to guess the dead space, what is the significance of tracheostomy, what is the formula for dead space, what is the significance of PaCO2 and PaCO2. Now, I would like to bring to your notice, to all of you, those who are listening to me, this is on a very small part which I have taught here, and I'm going to teach every concept in so much detail for every system. In the month of Feb, I have taken two courses for you people. One course is on respiratory physiology with clinical basis, and the second course is clinical cases in physiology. So I would request you all to just go through the profile or the link which I have shared on my Facebook page, in which I have explained very well what I'm going to teach in all these two courses, and you can try to enroll for those courses. You can use my code. You can use my code as Dr. Vijay Gupta -YT to subscribe for or to take the enrollment in the Unacademy, and by using this code you can get additional 10% off, which will help you to this course will not only be, this subscription will not only be for physiology, but this subscription is for all 19 subjects. The subscription which you are going to have is for all 19 subjects by more than 30 educators teaching live, teaching live every day. Every day, almost every day, I am taking live classes. I have 30 classes in a month of in every month for physiology. Out of those 30 hours, there are 7 hours which I take free of cost on the Unacademy. Means Unacademy is also providing those number of sessions open for all the students, and the remaining part of the session, which is called as plus hours plus subscription, which makes you eligible for all these contents to for for almost an year or 6 months, whichever package you choose. This package will also include mock test, weekly test, mega quiz, and many more, which are specifically designed for the students who are going to appear in the June exam of the PGI, JIPMA, or NEET, and also the NEET PG exam, which is coming up in 2021. So I wish you all the best, and yes, we will see you again in the month of Feb with a course on respiratory physiology with clinical basis. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Bye bye. See you. Good night.